So the idea of the rider base not truly appreciating the potential of a given bike is a tale that's as old as time. Hell, this type of thinking is the reason why Harley Davidson stopped making their best handling model ever over 3 decades ago. But how is this even possible? How is it that bikes that pack such a massive potential can become so easily overlooked? Well, at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to a common and shared sense of what is cool and what is trending. It's not necessarily which bikes are actually functionally good at any given time, it's which bikes are perceived to be good, hence why we've had some insane trends in the past like these. In this video, we're going to talk about a modern Harley Davidson that has become both underrated and overlooked throughout the years, especially by the younger and performance-oriented rider base. In this video, we will discuss none other than the modern Harley Davidson Street Glide. So back when I started taking riding seriously over 10 years ago, especially within my long bike trips, I remember seemingly every bike I would see, especially at events like Sturgis, would be street glides. Between this and seeing most of my dad's friends ride this type of bike, my stupid 20-something-year-old brain would begin associating the Batwing life with the older side of the riding base, prioritizing comfort over performance. For me, this perception would then be proven anytime I would throw a leg over this model, where I kinda just felt like I was on a couch with wheels and couldn't wait to be back on my Dyna. The years would pass on. I would lay down tens of thousands of miles on my Dyna while seeing mostly street glides on the long road. But then, within the last recent years, I began to see a major shift happen. We would begin to see more and more road glides out there in the wild, and not just that, but they were being ridden by a seemingly younger rider base. This would be the very beginning of the performance bagger era that we still find ourselves in this very day. We began to see people build out these baggers as far as they could go within the world of custom performance, eventually reaching the pinnacle, which of course was the track. Harley Davidson would then further validate this new riding style, offering the CVO Road Glide ST. But now, have you noticed anything about all the baggers I've mentioned within the last minute? Yeah, they are all road glides. It appears the sharks had a feeding frenzy within the last decade, leaving little to no surviving bats out there. So now fast forward 10 plus years later from where I started this story, and you would catch me in the year of 2024, hopping from road glide to road glide to road glide. The more miles I laid down on this modern road glide platform, the more I simply could not deny that it wasn't just an improved form of its predecessor, but an entirely different bike completely. But then life would throw me a curveball in the form of an invitation to ride a stock 2024 Street Glide to the Pacific Coast and back. I originally thought I was just going to do this and at the end of the day say that I now have definitive evidence about why it was okay to completely write off this model of bike. But however, the complete opposite thing had happened. From the first miles to the last within a 7,000 plus mile bike trip, this bike just made sense. Again, this was a stock bike, and not only was I able to throw it through the most extreme situations on the road, but I did so with ease and joy. The miles on the long road were simply effortless. The key difference between the road glide and the street glide is of course the fairing. And after 5,000 plus miles, I began to understand why and how the Batwing fairing actually makes a lot of sense. Starting with functionality, the Batwing provides a quote-unquote less is more feeling, where it makes the front end just feel lighter, while still providing more than enough wind coverage on the highway. Visually, over the bars, it just provides a more minimal view with less fairing in your eyesight as opposed to the road glide. In terms of functionality, I noticed that it excelled the most when having to throw the bike around tight situations, and would definitely be the better of 2 fairings for city riding. Even down to the small things like mirror placement, that little sliding dash, And the fact that rain never hit my hands, it's clear that a lot of thought went into the design here. With those lines and the way it flows into the rest of the bike, aesthetically the modern Street Glide has made its own lane, and you cannot deny that. All of these factors had completely shifted my mindset one coast to coast later. I never would have thought that I would have been sad to part ways with what I used to perceive as an old man bike. But as things sometimes go in this life, we would meet again. If you've been following my recent videos, then you know that this bike has come back into my life, as Vong Asphalt recently claimed this black 2024 Street Glide as his own. Even within the first miles, this bike very much falls in line with Vong Asphalt's naturally dark and sinister aesthetic, and hell, it's just stock. If you've been following some of the content from Cruci Originals, then you can see how far this bike can be taken performance-wise, which has been really exciting to watch. At the end of the day, you all know I'm a true mile crusher. I have a decade of bike trips and certifications to prove that to you. But as with most things, there is always a bigger fish, and when it comes down to straight crushing miles, I would never even try to compete with my friend Vong Asphalt, who holds some pretty insane titles such as a 4K in 4 days. With that being said, I'm excited to watch him show us not only the continued mile-crushing capabilities of these modern Street Glides, but also how they fare within navigating New York City chaos. So yeah, stay tuned, because in terms of this new bagger content, we're really just getting started. Partnering up with our hometown dealership, the Nassau County Harley-Davidson, we have our sights set on blowing these builds out of the water in terms of custom performance, so stay tuned. There might be some lingering questions from this video, such as why, if I saw so much potential in this Street Glide, I still chose the Road Glide at the end of the day, so stay tuned as we will discuss this in a further video. As always, if you've watched up to this point, please take a moment and like and subscribe, as it really does help us on the quest to crush true miles. We also have some of the finest merch available for anyone who's trying to pay the iron price with me this year. On that, keep an open mind, don't make assumptions, and outride your demons. FXDLS Brooklyn is out.
Goodbye.